You ever notice how much power you give away without even realizing it? How much of yourself you lose chasing someone who does not chase back? You tell yourself it is loyalty. You tell yourself it is love. You tell yourself you are being patient. But deep down, you know the truth. You are giving more than you are receiving, and you are slowly disappearing inside your own life. Today, we are talking about what happens when you finally stop, when you finally walk away, when you finally disappear, and what that does to her mind. Not because you are playing a game, not because you are trying to manipulate her, but because you finally choose yourself. Before we go further, hit that subscribe button. This channel is built for men who think deeper, men who want truth, not fantasy. If you are here, it means you are not afraid of reality. So subscribe and let us keep building. Now let us get into it. When you disappear from her life, something shifts inside her that she did not expect. And it is not what most men assume. Most men think disappearing is about making her miss them. They think it is about triggering regret. They think it is about scarcity, about making her chase. But that is only the surface. The deeper truth is this. When you disappear, you are not removing your attention. You are removing her access. You are removing her ability to predict you. And that is what shakes her. Because most women are not attached to the man the way men think. They are attached to the version of the man they believe they can control. They are attached to the pattern, the emotional leverage, the certainty that you will always be there, always available, always reachable, always willing to explain yourself, always willing to give one more chance. That is what makes you useful in her emotional world. And when you disappear, that usefulness ends. Most men do not truly disappear. They linger. They orbit. They stay close enough to be noticed, but far enough to pretend they are moving on. They keep liking her posts. They keep watching her stories. They keep replying instantly when she texts. They keep showing up in small ways because they are hoping she will suddenly see their value. But that is not disappearance. That is still submission. That is still waiting. And she knows it. Real disappearance is different. Real disappearance is when you are not angry. You are not bitter. You are not sending long messages about how she hurt you. You are not making speeches. You are not trying to prove anything. You are simply gone. Your energy is gone. Your access is gone. Your attention is gone. And most importantly, your emotional availability is gone. And that absence creates a psychological shock because it breaks the role she assigned to you. The first thing she feels is confusion. Not sadness yet, not regret yet. Confusion. Because you were predictable. You were consistent. You were the one who cared more. You were the one who always reached out. You were the one who always tried to fix things. And now you are not. She checks her phone. Nothing. She scrolls through messages. No text. She goes on social media. You have not liked her post. You have not reacted. You have not watched her story. You are not showing up in the small ways you used to show up. And that confuses her because she was not prepared for a world where you do not exist as her backup emotional source. She starts asking questions. Why is he quiet? Did something happen? Is he mad? Did he finally move on? Is he with someone else? Did he stop caring? Did I misjudge him? And those questions start small, but they grow because the human mind cannot tolerate gaps. The brain hates uncertainty. It hates unanswered questions. And your absence is the biggest unanswered question she has had in a long time. Most men think the first emotion she feels will be pain. It is not. Pain comes later. The first emotion is disruption. Confusion is disruption. Confusion is the mind trying to understand what just changed. And that is the first shift. You are no longer predictable. And predictability is where most men lose their power. When a woman can predict your behavior, she can manage her emotions around you. She can pull away and expect you to chase. She can ignore you and expect you to try harder. She can act distant and expect you to over-explain. She can do almost anything and still feel safe because she believes you will remain in position. That is what makes you controllable. And when you disappear, you destroy that control. The second thing she feels is curiosity. Curiosity is the next stage after confusion. Once she accepts that something is different, she begins to wonder what the difference means. She begins to wonder what you are doing. She begins to wonder where you are spending your time. She begins to wonder what changed in you. Curiosity is powerful because it is not emotional yet. It is mental. It is imagination. It is her mind filling the silence you created. And the mind always fills silence with meaning. That is why disappearing works when it is real. Because your silence forces her imagination to become active. And her imagination is more powerful than your words ever were. If you used to explain yourself, she never had to wonder. If you used to chase her, she never had to think. If you used to always be there, she never had to question your presence. But now she has to wonder. Now she has to imagine. And imagination creates tension. Tension creates emotional activation. And emotional activation is what most men mistake for love. She might reach out during this stage, not with a confession, not with an apology. Usually it is small. A casual message, a random question, an excuse to test your availability. Something like, "Hey, how have you been?" Or "I saw something that reminded me of you." Or "Are you okay?" Or "What have you been up to lately?" And this is where most men fail. They respond immediately. They flood her with emotion. They give her everything. They act like the entire goal of disappearing was to get this one message. And the moment they do that, they destroy the effect. Because her curiosity was not about missing you. Her curiosity was about checking whether she still has access. And when you respond too fast, you answer her question. You show her you are still available. You show her she still has control. And once she knows that, the curiosity disappears. Because the tension disappears. But if you stay gone, if you respond with calm distance, if you respond like a man who has a life and does not need to chase, then curiosity deepens, because now she cannot solve the puzzle. Now she cannot confirm her old story. Now she cannot easily pull you back into the same dynamic. And her mind starts spinning. Who is he with? Why is he so calm? Why is he not reacting? Why is he not chasing? Why does he seem different? That is when you become interesting again. Not because you became someone else, but because you stopped being accessible. The third thing she feels is a loss of control. This is the part most men do not understand. Many women, whether they admit it or not, enjoy knowing they have options. Not because they want to use men, not because they are evil, but because options create emotional security. Options create comfort. Options create the feeling of being desired. Even if she does not want you fully, the idea that you want her makes her feel powerful. It makes her feel validated. It makes her feel chosen. And when you disappear, that validation disappears. She can no longer reach you emotionally. She can no longer test you. She can no longer pull you in and push you away. She can no longer keep you as a safe emotional cushion. And that loss of control creates anxiety. Anxiety is the feeling of losing access to something you assumed was guaranteed. It is the feeling of suddenly realizing the door you thought was always open is now closed. She might have treated you like an option, but the moment you remove yourself, you force her to face the truth that you were not supposed to have the power to leave. In her mind, you were supposed to stay. You were supposed to remain available. You were supposed to remain consistent. And now you are not. And that makes her uncomfortable because now she has to confront something she avoided. The possibility that she miscalculated. The possibility that she pushed too far. The possibility that she lost something she assumed she could always retrieve later. And human beings hate losing options. People do not always want what they have, but they always want the ability to access what they have. That is why your disappearance hits her. It is not always about love. It is about the sudden loss of access. The fourth thing she feels is regret. But regret does not arrive immediately. Regret arrives after time. It arrives when the emotional noise settles. It arrives when the distractions stop working. It arrives when she begins to reflect. At first, she tells herself she does not care. She tells herself you were too available anyway, too needy, too invested. She tells herself she can replace you easily. She tells herself you were not that special. But then, days pass, and something happens. The mind begins to romanticize what it lost. She begins to remember the moments you were good to her, the times you made her laugh, the times you showed up, the times you supported her, the times you cared. And the more she remembers, the more she starts to wonder if she took you for granted. Regret is not always missing someone. Regret is realizing you had something valuable and you did not treat it like it mattered. Regret is realizing you assumed something was permanent, and now it is gone. That is why regret is painful, because it forces accountability. It forces reflection. It forces her to confront her own decisions. And not every woman will reach this stage. Some women move on quickly. Some women distract themselves. Some women avoid reflection entirely. But for women who are emotionally aware, for women who understand connection, regret becomes heavy. Because they realize something most people realize too late. Genuine care is rare. Genuine presence is rare. A man who shows up consistently is rare. And when you disappear, she begins to see the contrast between you and everyone else. That is when the regret deepens. The fifth thing she feels is respect. And this is the most important one. Because respect is the foundation of attraction. A woman can enjoy your attention without respecting you. She can like you without respecting you. She can even sleep with you without respecting you. But if she does not respect you, she will never value you deeply. Respect is what makes a woman take a man seriously. Respect is what makes her stop playing games. Respect is what makes her invest emotionally. And when you disappear the right way, you generate respect. Not because you hurt her, not because you punished her, but because you showed her something rare. You showed her boundaries. You showed her self-respect. You showed her you are not afraid to walk away. You showed her you will not tolerate being treated as an option. And that is attractive in a deep way. Women are drawn to men who can stand alone. Women are drawn to men who do not need validation. Women are drawn to men who choose themselves. Because a man who chooses himself signals strength. He signals stability. He signals that he has standards, and standards are magnetic. Most men do not have standards. Most men fold. Most men chase. Most men stay in places where they are not valued because they are afraid of being alone. And when you disappear, you prove you are not that man. That alone changes how she sees you. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes she will not feel any of this. Sometimes she will not care. Sometimes she will move on and never look back. And you need to be strong enough to accept that. Because disappearing was never supposed to be about her reaction. If your disappearance is based on hoping she misses you, then you have not disappeared. You have just changed tactics. If your disappearance is based on hoping she regrets it, then you are still controlled by her. Real disappearance is about self-respect. It is about protecting your peace. It is about refusing to beg for love. It is about refusing to chase someone who does not choose you. It is about ending emotional self-abandonment. And that is a win even if she never comes back. Because you kept your dignity. You kept your power. You kept your identity. Now let us talk about what happens after you disappear, because this is where most men destroy everything. She reaches out. She says she misses you. She says she was thinking about you. She says she wants to talk. She sends you a message that feels like a door opening again, and most men rush back in. They respond instantly. They become emotional. They become eager. They fall right back into the same role. And then the respect disappears again. The attraction fades again. The dynamic resets. Because you taught her that your boundaries are temporary. You taught her that your self-respect is conditional. You taught her that you will always come back, and once she knows that, she will treat you the same way again. Not necessarily because she is a bad person, but because you showed her there are no consequences. That is why disappearing only works when it becomes a lifestyle, not a tactic. If she reaches out, you do not ignore her, but you do not rush back either. You stay grounded, you stay calm. You respond like a man who has options, like a man who has a life, like a man who is not desperate. You engage with boundaries. You let her feel that you are open but not available at all costs. You let her see that the man who disappeared is not acting. He is real. He is centered. He is no longer begging for a place in her life. And if she cannot respect that version of you, then she is not for you. Here is why disappearing works psychologically. Not as manipulation, but as truth. Because when you disappear, you remove fake connection. You remove one-sided effort. You remove the illusion that things were okay. Most relationships do not collapse because of one big fight. They collapse because one person is carrying the emotional weight while the other person coasts. One person invests while the other person keeps options open. One person tries to build while the other person consumes. And that imbalance kills attraction. It kills respect. It kills polarity. It kills desire. So when you disappear, you are not destroying something real. You are ending something that was already broken. You are simply the first one brave enough to admit it. And that honesty is power. Because it forces reality. It forces clarity. It forces both people to face what was actually happening. And sometimes that absence is the only thing that wakes someone up. But again, do not get distracted by the fantasy of waking her up. The real purpose of disappearing is to wake yourself up. To wake up to your own value. To wake up to the fact that you cannot build love with someone who treats you like an option. To wake up to the fact that chasing someone who does not choose you is emotional suicide. Every minute you spend trying to earn attention from someone who is not invested is a minute stolen from your future, from your growth, from your mission, from your peace. And you never get that time back. That is why disappearing is self-preservation. It is you saying, I matter. It is you saying, my time matters. It is you saying, I will not beg for a place in someone else's life. And when you live with that standard, everything changes. Not just with her, with everyone. You begin attracting different people because your energy shifts. You stop operating from lack. You stop operating from need. You start operating from emotional abundance. And emotional abundance is rare. It is the kind of abundance that comes from knowing you are enough even when nobody is watching. Knowing you can walk away and still be okay. Knowing you can be alone without feeling empty. Knowing you do not need anyone to complete you. That is the kind of power women feel instantly. And that is why your disappearance shakes her. Because it proves you are not trapped. It proves you are not dependent. It proves you are free. And freedom is attractive. It is also intimidating. Because a man who is free cannot be controlled. A man who is free cannot be used. A man who is free cannot be kept in emotional limbo. He either stays because he chooses to, or he leaves because he respects himself. That is what disappearing is. It is not a trick. It is not a game. It is a standard. It is a boundary. It is a declaration that your life belongs to you. So if you are watching this and you are thinking about disappearing, do not do it to hurt her. Do not do it to make her jealous. Do not do it to trigger a reaction. That is weak. That is ego. That is still dependence. Disappear because you respect yourself. Disappear because you are tired of being half-loved. Disappear because you are tired of being the one who always reaches out. Disappear because staying is slowly destroying you. And then stay disappeared long enough to rebuild your identity. Long enough to remember who you were before you started begging for attention. long enough to stop measuring your worth by someone else's response. And if she comes back, let her come back to a man who is whole, a man who is grounded, a man who has standards, a man who will not tolerate being second place. And if she does not come back, then you still win. Because now you are free. Free to build a life that does not revolve around someone else's mood. Free to find someone who chooses you without needing to lose you first. Someone who respects you from the beginning. Someone who matches your effort. Someone who does not need you to disappear to realize your value. That is the real win. Not her regret. Your peace. Your self-respect. Your freedom. So disappear when you need to. Not as a strategy, but as a commitment to yourself. And watch how everything shifts, not just in her mind, but in your entire life. If this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. We are building a community of men who choose themselves, who think clearly, who move with purpose. You belong here.